Good afternoon. It's great to be here with all of you today, and thank you for joining the very first meeting of the Cannabis Advisory Board. I know many of you, but if we haven't met, I'm Chris Alexander, the Executive Director of the Office of Cannabis Management. Through this role, I lead the implementation of the cannabis law and provide oversight over the development of the medical, cannabinoid hemp, and adult use cannabis program. I do this with an amazing team, and I want to particularly shout out my executive team of Axel Burnaby, Chief of Staff and Senior Policy Director, Pat McCage, First Deputy Director, Stanley De La Cruz, Director of Executive Operations, and Mary Adelaja, Manager of Executive Operations. The External Affairs team, led by Director Aaron Hammond, Counsel's Office, led by General Counsel Rick Zunleiter, our Communications team, led by Director Freeman Klopo, our Policy team, currently led by Lila Hunt, and our newest addition, our Chief Equity Officer, Damian Fagan. You will have an opportunity to meet and interact with the rest of the team later, but these individuals in particular will be communicating directly with you as you get up to speed on all things cannabis. We will touch on it more later in the meeting, but central to your role as the Cannabis Advisory Board is providing grants supported by revenue generated from the industry to organizations and projects intended to help revitalize communities across the state. The Office of Cannabis Management is here to support you in your work, and we look forward to working with each of you as we continue to build the program. Today, we will take some time for each of you to introduce yourselves. Following that, we will discuss the role of this board as defined by the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act. Next, you will hear from Erin Lynch, the Ethics Counsel and Ethics Officer for OCM. She'll walk you through some of the considerations you will need to make in your role with the board. Finally, we'll discuss some operational matters, and then we'll adjourn. First, I'd like to turn it to one of the co-authors of the MRTA and OCM's Chief of Staff and Senior Policy Director for some brief comments.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's really incredible to have everyone on today. It's been a long time coming. I realized when we were talking about launching this meeting that it's been 4 years since we completed the interagency study that first launched cannabis as an internal New York State policy. And a lot of the agencies that are here in their ex officio capacity to help with this project were involved early on, putting together just the basic thoughts on how we could roll this out responsibly, how we could be mindful of public health and still achieve our social justice, our criminal justice reform, and even our economic development goals. And so seeing those agencies represented and a lot of the same individuals that have been at this for 4 years goes a really, really long way. So, you know, Chris and I have been doing this for a very, very long time, but having to the sort of honor to launch this meeting with all of you to take this to the next level is just very rewarding. So I want to just thank you guys for making the time and for dedicating your efforts to this and helping us do it right. That's it. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
No problem. Before we get too far, I'll read a brief statement regarding the Open Meetings Law into the record. Pursuant to Chapter 56 of the Laws of 2022, enacted on April 9, 2022, and pursuant to Executive Order 11.7, board members may continue to fully participate in meetings via video conference from locations that are not open to the public, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceedings, and the meetings are recorded and later transcribed. The public was provided with information on how to access this meeting within the public meeting notice distributed to members of the press and posted on the OCM website. A recording of this meeting together with a transcript will also be available on the OCM website. Previous recordings, meeting minutes, and transcripts are archived on the OCM website as well. Please note that there's a designated tab on the website entitled Board Meetings, which will provide access to this information. Okay. So with that out the way, let's get started. If each of you could introduce yourselves, let us know why you're excited to be part of the Cannabis Advisory Board and what your vision is for the cannabis industry in Europe. I think the public is super excited to hear about it. So we'll get started, and I'll actually call folks out to make sure that we have a smooth facilitation. Let's start with Alan Clear.
Thanks, Chris. So I'm Alan Clear. I work at the New York State Department of Health AIDS Institute. I'm the director of the Office of Drug User Health. And when Axel was talking about the initiative getting off the ground, I guess I was part of that as Lila and I were calling around the country, talking to the states and people running the cannabis programs around the states, and seeing what their experience was so we could learn from those folks so that we didn't replicate some of their mistakes, and also so we knew what was coming down the line in terms of when we got legal here. You can, well, I don't know if you can tell from my accent, but I wasn't born in the US. And when I first moved to London, which was probably 1979, virtually the first thing I did was go on this legalized cannabis march, which didn't really fit in with my thinking until we started talking about cannabis here in New York State. But there was a Smokey Bears thing that we met in Hyde Park. We marched down to Downing Street and the cops moved us on, essentially. So that's a long time of wanting to see legal cannabis in my life, I suppose. I'm excited that the legislation that we have is so social justice focused. I'm excited that we can have a legal market that gives access to cannabis to New Yorkers in a way that we know what we're buying. I like the idea. I mean, I'm sure everyone else here has also been to cannabis shops, whether it's Massachusetts or California or anywhere else. I just like the variety and options that you get, which we never had available before. And I'm very keen on that. And looking forward to, being part of this adventure, really. And our office is lucky enough to host the Department of Health cannabis person. So we'll be working very closely with OCM as we go forward. So yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I'm really happy that all you guys I know are involved in this. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. I'll turn now to Dr. Chinazo Cunningham.
Great, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. So I am the commissioner of the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. I'm also a physician in internal medicine and addiction medicine. While I've only been the commissioner for 6 months, before coming to the state, I worked, in the South Bronx and in a federally qualified health center. I conducted research and developed programs. And really the last part of my career, I focused a lot on medical cannabis, led NIH-funded grants and other foundation-funded grants, and published several papers regarding the role of medical cannabis and when thinking about opioids and pain. I also was on the advisory committee for Governor Cuomo many years ago when there was another initiative for adult use cannabis. And so I've been thinking about cannabis for a long time, studying it, certifying patients for medical cannabis. And so I'm happy to be part of this going forward. Certainly as the commissioner of OASIS, I think our perspective is really important. So I'm very happy to be part of this board and really focusing on equity, which I know OCM has really, had as a priority. That's also a priority for us in our agency, along with really taking a public health approach. And so really, keep those two priorities, the public health approach, minimizing risk, taking a harm reduction approach, and an equity approach are really important guiding principles for us. And I hope for the board going forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham. Gary Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chris, thank you for your introduction. I am the state chair for economic development for the New York State NAACP. I'm also excited to be here. We're looking forward to ensure that this rollout is equitable, particularly for frontline and disadvantaged communities that have been severely impacted by prior legislation. So from an economic development perspective, we are excited at the opportunity that this brings, and we look forward to working with all of you to make sure that we are a leading state in showing how this can be done right. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki Cateman.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited and honored to be here with you all and being able to share all of our expertise and knowledge in cannabis and a cannabis adjacent space to build not just a really equitable program and more equitable space. I am the Political and Communications Director for Local 338. We are part of the Retail Wholesale Department Store Union, United Food and Commercial Workers, and we represent 13,000 working people across our state, which includes workers in New York's cannabis industry. And as a worker advocate and frankly advocate for workers in the cannabis industry, I'm really excited about the opportunities to talk about what we can do for workforce development in communities that have been long left behind, and ensure there's a space for good jobs and conversation around how that plays into equity. So excited to be here and looking forward to the work we're going to do here.
Thank you, Nikki. Alan Gandelman.
All right, thank you so much. Really excited and honored to be here. I wear many hats in the cannabis and farming community. I think, right now I'm the founder and the president of the board of the New York Cannabis Growers and Processors Association. We're a nonprofit industry advocacy group in New York. We're probably the largest cannabis association in the state of New York, but with over 400 members. And soon we will be changing our name to the Cannabis Association of New York, because we don't only represent growers and processors anymore. That was kind of in the early hemp days. And now we have representation across all sectors of the industry. We have a lot of different committees working on policy, including, retail committees, sustainability committees, et cetera. And so I've been doing that for about 3 years. And I also, I'm the owner of New York Hemp Oil. We're a hemp CBD extraction manufacturing facility. We have our retail brands that are sold nationally and also, of course, here in New York. And then for over the past decade, I've been an organic vegetable farmer in upstate New York, and we sell vegetables all over the state, including New York City. And I have been a cannabis patient in the New York medical program for many years. And I've also been a cannabis advocate for over 20 years. In the year 2000, I started as the vice president of my local NORML chapter, the National Organization for Reforming Marijuana Laws. So this has been, kind of 2 decades in the making for me. So super excited to be here today.
Awesome. Happy to have you. All right. The Honorable Ruth Hassell Thompson.
Yes, good morning. I seem to be the oddball out. I started out as a nurse, did drug treatment under methadone for a long time, had some very deep concerns about marijuana as a gateway drug, was in the state legislature. I served in the Senate for 16 years and was a part of the committee that helped to legalize medical marijuana. After many hearings, studies, tests, it became very evident that there was a medical use that was very, very important. But also, as the ranking member on Criminal Justice Committee, I was also watching the numbers of young Black and brown men and women being arrested for small amounts of, possessing marijuana, and along with some of my colleagues, put a real kibosh, I hope, on the way in which stop and frisk was employed, because it did not apparently engender the result that it was proclaimed to be, even though it could have been a very good police tool. My years, I still work in government as an advisor to the governor's office. I've been with this office for 6 years since retiring from the state legislature, but have followed very closely the growth and development of cannabis, and have listened to and read all of the articles that were available to me on legalizing cannabis as an adult use for adult use. I have a great appreciation for how long it took us to get here, partly because I wanted to be sure that you'll have to pardon my voice. I've been sick on bed rest for 2 weeks, and today is literally my first day out of bed. So pardon me, but I thought that this meeting was too important to miss. But to continue just briefly, the equitable aspect, the economic and social aspect of this was very important to me. And it just seemed that it was happenstance that I was appointed to this committee. And yet I have as much experience in many of the areas as most of the people who are sitting on this board, having worked with this population for over 25 years. I'm very appreciative of being a voice to ensure that there is equitable distribution of how dispensaries and the distribution of marijuana, of cannabis, is going to be regulated. And for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to listen to some of the other people, which is a rare thing for me to listen. But I know that together we will come up with what I believe will make New York State one of the most outstanding, as it has proven to be in the past, about equity and parity in the economic arena. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all of your work on this. Dr. June Shin.
Good morning. So I have specialized in integrative medicine for almost 2 decades. I'm a board certified family practice practitioner and neuromuscular medicine. I founded and operated 7 bi-coastal integrative cannabis medicine clinics. And I have a unique perspective on cannabis-based therapies that incorporates data science, crowdsourced experiential knowledge, individualized treatment strategies. I've helped create medical cannabis protocols for the industry, for cannabinoid formulations, for research, education, including physician training programs. I'm so honored to work with you all, and thank you so much for inviting me. Regarding adult use and medical expansion coexisting in New York, I think these 2 programs can coexist and bolster each other's efforts. Achieving full health is always our overarching goal. So regulated adult use and medical cannabis dispensaries can tap into a knowledge base of medical doctors and health practitioners, plant scientists, cultivators, researchers. And it's really crucial for the underserved to have access to integrative healthcare. And I would argue it's even more essential that the poor and marginalized have access to integrative cannabis care. So I want to continue to help the team here at the OCM to create a safe place for the public to get all the information and to be empowered individuals, especially to educate consumers and patients, give them the tools and give them the resources for integrative and sustainable medicine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Joe Bellick.
Thanks, Chris. My name is Joe Bellick. I may have everyone who's spoken so far, including Chris and Axel, beat, because I founded the SUNY Binghamton Normal Chapter in 1985 when I was a freshman at SUNY Binghamton, and have been involved in advocating for the legalization of cannabis since that time, and also involved in social justice work from that time period as well. I'm a practicing attorney. My focus of my practice is on product liability, making sure the products are safe. And in that role, I represent mostly unionized workers who were exposed to asbestos, and also some farmers who were exposed to pesticides. I previously represented the state of New York in its litigation against the tobacco industry, and my role in that focused largely on their billboards, marketing, and scientific research. I initially did that in private practice, and then for a short period of time at the New York State Attorney General's office, where I was involved in implementing the settlement agreement between the tobacco industry and the state of New York. I currently chair the state's Judicial Conduct Commission, where we implement ethics and discipline to all of the judges in New York State. Part of that role is dealing with substance abuse and other issues that are confronting the judges in New York, and making sure they get proper assistance for that. And I'm the longest serving trustee of the State University of New York, and help oversee the 64 campuses, including their research foundation. I've worked a little bit in the background of this legislation, and trying to get it passed. And I see it as a continuation of sort of my life's commitment to legalization, to make sure we have a successful rollout of this wonderful law that we have here in New York.
Thank you. Chandra Redfern.
Good morning. I'm Chandra Redfern. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Buffalo Federation of Neighborhood Centers. We are a community-based organization. We've been on the east side of Buffalo for over 125 years. And, you know, East Buffalo is primarily African-American population. So for me, having had a career in human services for over 20 years, I've seen both sides of it. So we have a very large mental health population that we service, and they have co-occurring disorders. So, you know, we as providers have tried to work through medical cannabis use with our individuals that deal with some pretty severe issues. And so I am honored to participate on this committee to become more educated and to educate the public and those that we serve on medical use. But also, we're very excited regarding the reinvestment of the funds in the community, because having worked in this community for so long, I've seen firsthand the effects of, you know, the disproportionality of the law that was enforced on Black and Brown people. And so we've seen, you know, families that have been destroyed. We've seen the economic blight, and we continue to experience that. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing the work of this advisory board and the fruition of what is to come for the community, so that the community can rebuild itself.
Absolutely. Ebro Darden.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. It was great to hear everyone's stories and their purpose for being here. My name is also tied to a radio program out of New York City that goes by the name of Ebro in the Morning. I have been in media for 30 years, and I was invited to be a part of this advisory board by Andrea Stewart-Cousins, because I've been vocal about not only the criminality around marijuana and, you know, how police have been criminalizing Black and Brown youth, but also specifically making sure that health and wellness is a part of the conversation moving forward. In Black and Brown neighborhoods, there's a lot of our elders whose kidneys and livers are torn up by prescription drugs. Prescription drugs are very expensive as well. And, you know, teaching Black and Brown communities about the benefits of cannabis, CBD, and these other ways to manage pain as well as other mental health issues, I think is very important. And I also wanted to be here to make sure that I can get information out to the public using my radio program. We serve a 18 to 34-year-old audience. We have the most diverse audience of any probably radio station in the country, which is a third Black, a third Hispanic, and a third white, primarily between the ages of 18 and 34 in New York City. And oftentimes, this audience doesn't know what is happening in politics, not only on the local level, but on the state level and the federal level. So I try to put things in layman's terms so that people can access the information. I'm also very passionate about young people learning the avenues and businesses around cannabis other than just opening a dispensary. I have friends that have been involved in Colorado, California, Oregon, and Washington. Obviously, everyone is going to think that they are ready to open up a brick and mortar location and have a dispensary and run a store. And we know how complicated that is for people who have never ran a business before, let alone a cannabis business. And so there's going to be a lot of auxiliary and ancillary opportunities with cannabis that I think that we could be, as a state, active in helping young people know about all the new business opportunities and careers around cannabis. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to help our young people learn and find career paths as well. So excited to be here. I'll be paying attention to all the information. I am not tied to any organization other than just my radio program. So I'm agnostic, if you will. I just want to make sure we do this right.
Absolutely, and thank you for your voice. Sarah Ravenhall.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Sarah Ravenhall. I'm the Executive Director at the New York State Association of County Health Officials. Our association represents the 58 local health departments across New York State, including New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. And really our membership comprises the governmental public health sector of the state's public health infrastructure. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be here today. Our members provide core public health services in their communities, but every service that they provide is really rooted in health equity, the assurance of access to public health services, and provision of public health education to communities at risk. Our members have expertise in tobacco control, supporting drug user health, harm reduction, and prevention strategies. And I really hope to continue to see the great work that New York State is doing in this work continued with the leadership of this board through application of a public health and health equity lens during the rollout of legalized cannabis sales for adult use. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Scott Weiner.
Good morning. My name's Scott Weiner. I'm General Counsel of the Department of Agriculture and Markets. Some folks think of Ag and Markets as we're a small agency and sort of narrowly focused, but actually we're a small agency which has a really wide focus. I work in areas of food safety, weights and measures, ag development. We work with plant industry. We've got an animal side. The point is that we've also been involved in industrial hemp, and we've been involved in industrial hemp from the beginning of the New York State program. I've worked very, very closely with our plant industry folks in terms of setting up that program, dealing with the regulations, and dealing with the administration of the program. That's given me sort of at least some insight of the legal challenges of working in the area, the interface of federal law with state law, dealing with packaging, labeling, processing, the growing of the product, and the dealing with the administration of the programs. I'm excited about this because it's an interesting and exciting enterprise, raises a lot of interesting legal challenges and operational challenges. And to the extent that I've got experience based upon working with our hemp program, I'm excited about making that contribution. Also, the Department of Agriculture is interested in creating greater opportunity for beginning farmers and disadvantaged communities. We want to run and operate programs with respect to that. So to the extent that we can collaboratively work together and get more people involved and excited about agriculture and provide access and information, I hope to work in that area too. So I'm excited about being here, and I think it's going to be an interesting and an exciting opportunity to help a lot of folks in the state.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Derek Glenn.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. So Derek Glantz, I'm the Deputy Commissioner with the Department of Environmental Conservation for Environmental Remediation and Materials Management. And so under my portfolio are all pesticides, waste. Those are kind of the key issues I'm particularly interested in this in growing industry, as well as all the other impacts to environmental and public health. So our core priorities is to really ensure that we have equity and justice. I think this is really, really critical to make sure that we're looking at the impacts of climate change and quality of life, that we're safeguarding the environment, public health, conserving and protecting our ecosystems and communities, and inspiring sustainable resource conservation and stewardship practices. And I look forward to working with you all on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Alejandro Alvarez.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. My name is Alejandro Alvarez. I am co-founder of Soulful Synergy, Matter Synergy Enterprises, and the New Grow Academy. Those are three different entities that I am a part of. I am a serious social entrepreneur. We created Soulful Synergy about 10 years ago with the idea that all waters rises all ships, right? Rising waters rises all ships. And our goal was always to create opportunities and bridges with resources into the workforce. So we specialize in working in the construction space, the clean energy space, urban farming, and we work with local organizations and nonprofits to run our workforce trainings. We specifically work and try to get ourselves in the most underserved part of the community where people are facing criminal charges or dealing with that type of lifestyle. Many times we're dealing with people coming back home from doing time, and our goal is to equip our participants in our community with the tools needed to be successful in these sectors. In the last 10 years, we've been able to train over 6,000 individuals across the board from construction and clean energy, now in urban farming. We have again opened our consulting firm as a social. Providing services for the cannabis space, specifically for social equity. And our New Grow Academy is a center where we're teaching individuals best practices and how to participate in the cannabis space. Our goal is to focus on helping and as Ebro said, auxiliary careers, where again, we're bringing in our construction training to teach individuals how to build the facilities, how to operate the facilities. We're gonna incorporate our clean energy training to make sure that the facilities are sustainable and energy efficient, because we do also understand that environmental factors are gonna be crucial to in taking them into consideration and preparing our community to participate in managing these issues as this rolls out. We're also going to have a cultivation from seed to sale, again, all organic and sustainable practice. And we're going to have front-end training to do bud tending, general manager, understanding the different types of cannabinoids, terpenes, and being able to use POS systems. Our goal is to work with local nonprofits to help allow them to participate in this space and also educate them in how they can also work and benefit from the resources that the cannabis space is bringing. So overall, I'm really excited. I'm going to be honest. I couldn't sleep last night. I probably slept an hour for this meeting, and I kept having like nightmares that I wasn't saying something. It was interesting, but I'm really excited to be part of this team and to truly see the social equity component be rolled out and really helping those in our community that have been most impacted by this war on drugs and specifically this cannabis prohibition. Because we see this in many of our work that many of our participants lose track or weren't able to stay on track because of one of their first cannabis infractions that then put them into a whirlwind. So again, thank you, everyone. I appreciate to be appointed here, and I hope to bring a lot of resources and opportunities to this advisory committee, the OCM in general.
Thanks, Alejandro. Happy to have you here. Russell Oliver.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Russell Oliver. I'm the Director of the Division of Employment and Workforce Solutions for the Department of Labor here in Albany. You may know us as a career center system. There are 95 career centers in New York State. We serve about 500,000 job-seeking customers and 30,000 businesses. We're very excited to be part of the board. We're so excited that in January, we started our own unit, our Cannabis Employment and Education Development Unit here at the Department of Labor. We've been at it for 6 months. We've been trying to educate our own staff, our job-seeking community, and our businesses on the industry, working closely with OCM. What we want to see out of the board, one of our challenges is right away we are federally funded. We have talked to our federal partners about what we're trying to accomplish here. We really want to see a way where we can come up with training in the industry. There's multiple educational institutions that do provide the training, how we can support that and how we can support business development. We're most excited about the social equity of the law, right? So everything we do, we think about that, but we're hoping we can, for lack of a better word, help grow the industry. That's what we do. We see it as the next big thing, and we're going to put our support behind it. So very excited to be on the board. Thank you very much, and looking forward to these meetings.
Thank you, Russell. Peter Schaefer.
Morning, everybody. A lot of smart people on this call. Hopefully I can contribute as well. Very honored to be here. Excited to have these conversations. I am the owner of Nanticoke Gardens, a greenhouse grower, retailer, wholesaler here in Endicott, New York. Prior to my farming, growing life, I spent 10 years in New York City, where I worked at a beverage distribution wholesaler. So I hope to be able to merge that perspective. It was a beer distributing company. I hope to be able to merge that perspective with my last 10 years in farming and greenhouse growing, and hopefully be able to contribute those experiences to what we're about to embark on here, merging that beer world and the farming world into some perspective here. So excited that, I come from a plant lover background. Having a garden center retailer, customers are always talking about plants, and we specialize in variety. And I talk about plants all day. So one thing that's exciting for me is to remove the stigma of cannabis from those conversations. People no longer have to whisper about that plant. So that's exciting to be a part of, and keep removing that stigma across multiple levels, whether it be social equity conversations or plants in general. So we do have some experience in cannabis, having grown hemp since 2017. We were excited to be part of the processing, CBD extraction as well. So we're excited to be part of all these conversations around cannabis as we move forward with adult use. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kathleen DeCataldo.
Good morning. So I'm the State Education Department representative, the designee of our Commissioner Betty Rosa on this, and I'm honored to be on board. I think my experience, my career has been as an advocate for system-involved youth. And at the State Education Department, I oversee the Office of Student Support Services, and that includes school health, school discipline, our Dignity for All Students Act, many other things. I think here I am really interested in providing clarity to schools about young people who have cannabis in their possession on a school campus. I think that's an area which is very unclear. I think that's also unclear for young people in the community as well, under 21. And I think the other important piece, from state ed's perspective is thinking about education opportunities for young people in school and, how we're going to be talking to them about cannabis and its use. So thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you so much. Last but definitely not least, Suzanne Miles-Gustav.
Am I really last, Chris? Good afternoon, everyone. Suzanne Miles-Gustav. I'm the Executive Deputy Commissioner at the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. So here we are the state oversight entity that oversees and supports the systems of child welfare, juvenile justice, child care, and we also host several other organizations like the Commission for the Blind and AmeriCorps. I was previously the general counsel at OCFS for quite some time, so I know my staff has been involved with some of the really smart people on this call in the tracking and reviewing and negotiations of the legislature while it circled its way through Albany. So it's really exciting to see it come to this and to evolve into this passed and signed law, and also the Office of Cannabis Management and this wonderful advisory board. So I know the Office of Cannabis Management staff has been in touch with my staff quite often, quite regularly. We are looking at data. We are thinking about a framework to report on data, because I think everyone on this call was very mindful of the interaction of substance use with child welfare. And we continue to be mindful and cross our fingers and hope, right, that there'll be a change in practice with the decriminalization of cannabis. So those who know me have probably heard my spiel. So my agency is super conscious and aware of the historic disproportionality of the impact of child welfare processes and systems and policies on Black and Brown families. And we are actively working to repair that harm and dismantle some of those systems. And we hope that the decriminalization of cannabis serves as another lever to get us closer to equitable supports for families. Our goal is whole family and child well-being. So it's great to be here and look forward to all of our future conversations and work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. We clearly have an exciting mix of perspectives that's really going to help us as we build the most inclusive and equitable cannabis industry in the nation. I want to make notice of two board members who are unable to join us today, and then one last governor appointee that's just finalizing the background check process who will join us at the next meeting. So we'll have some more introductions to do. I've worked, as you know, as some of you know, I've worked on this issue and specifically the MRTA for the last several years, first as an advocate and then as an associate counsel in the New York State Senate. Well, when you're working on the legislation and creating the Cannabis Advisory Board, we saw a real opportunity to bring a wide swath of perspectives to the table to help inform the process of building and regulating the industry as we work to live up to the law's principles. Essentially, we did not want future regulators to be working in a vacuum. As the law requires, each of you brings a unique perspective to the team. Under the MRTA, the advisory board's members must have statewide geographic representation that includes individuals' expertise in public and behavioral health, substance use disorder treatment, effective rehabilitative treatment for adults and juveniles, homelessness and housing, economic development, environmental conservation, job training and placement, criminal justice, and drug policy. The MRTA designates the primary purpose of the Cannabis Advisory Board as overseeing the disbursement of the New York State Community Grants Reinvestment Fund. This fund will be supported by 40% of industry revenue, with the remaining 60% going to support drug treatment and prevention programs and bolstering funding for the state's public education system. Grants from the Community Grants Reinvestment Fund will be distributed to help revitalize communities across the state that were most impacted by the disproportionate enforcement of cannabis prohibition. This is really a critical role for the state as we collectively work to help offset the harms caused to our community. Grants will be delivered to nonprofits and community-based organizations to support job training, continuing adult education programs, economic development projects, and other investments to renew and rejuvenate those communities. It's a big task as we open up the industry and the funds supporting these grants begin to flow. I look forward to a strong partnership in delivering these assets to our neighbors. As for the industry opening up, we're moving as quickly as we can while also taking the time to make sure we're doing it the right way. As I said earlier, we're working to create the most equitable and inclusive industry in the nation. We've already launched the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. Through this initiative, we're getting our industry off the ground by turning to New York small farmers who already have the skill set of growing cannabis in a regulatory environment. More than 200 farmers are already licensed, and plants are already in the ground all across New York State. Before the year is over, the product they're growing will be sold by our conditional adult use retail dispensary licensees. These are individuals or family members of individuals with a cannabis conviction who also have experience owning and operating a small business. It's our understanding and our hope that if they could operate a small business, a successful business that's already served as a bedrock to their community, they can bring that same expertise and tenacity to the new industry that we're building. These first equity entrepreneurs will then generate the revenue that will help us develop tools to support equity applicants across all license types as we continue to ramp up the industry. That's how we're getting it started. We're also at work building the broader program. Already out for public comment are regulations on product labeling and marketing and regulations for testing. More will follow, and we look forward to discussions with you on those regulations as they continue to advance. So there's a lot of work for all of us to do, and your expertise will definitely be needed and useful as we do it. To help make sure we do it the right way, I'll now turn things over to Rick Zunleiter, our General Counsel, and Aaron Lynch, our Ethics Officer, to go over some ethical considerations. Rick and Aaron, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chris. I'll say that I am the General Counsel, Rick Zunleiter, but Erin Lynch is our ethics attorney here at the Office of Cannabis Management, and she has a terrific presentation that she'll have ready for you in the future, and she has a little preview now. And in the meantime, too, I also want to foreshadow something that's coming in the next few weeks, which is a presentation from the Inspector General concerning all of our responsibilities and obligations and interactions with our home organizations as well as this organization, so we can keep things ethically and appropriate. So Erin, take over now, please.
Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate that. And thank you, Executive Director Alexander. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see all of your faces and meet all of you. Again, my name is Erin Lynch. I'm the Ethics Officer, Ethics Counsel here at OCM. I just wanted to kind of give you a brief overview. Like Rick said, we do have a presentation, an ethics presentation we'll give to you at a later date. But for today's purposes, we did provide in the board materials a PowerPoint presentation. So our role really is to act as a resource for all of you for ethics training and guidance and to answer any questions along the way. So that ethics training that you received in your materials is for unpaid board members of state boards, for folks that are policymakers. So that information is actually put out by the New York State Joint Commission on Public Ethics, which is soon to be called something different next week, the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. So that material is for you to take a look at until we get a formal training set up. But I just want to give you a quick overview of what to expect when we do that training. So it really is to provide all of you with an overview of the ethics laws and essentially the framework that you're all going to be operating in as you serve on a state board. It's going to cover the state's code of conduct and give you an idea of what the standards of that are contained within that code of conduct that will apply to everyone. And it's meant all of you from engaging in any sort of either discussion or voting that might present a conflict of interest or an appearance of a conflict of interest. It is, gives the presentation will cover the concept of recusal, which is often a way in which we address potential conflicts of interest, right? To remove someone from discussions or voting if we can identify that ahead of time. So one of the things I think that would be helpful prior to our training is to just, take a look at that material if you do have time and to think about your role outside of the board and how that might interplay with your work on the Cannabis Advisory Board. And certainly there are going to be instances that we can't foresee, and Rick and I will be here to answer any of your questions. But it might be, just good to think about how those laws might apply to you given what you do outside of the board. So during the training that we provide to you at a later date, we'll have an opportunity to go through different recusal scenarios. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them, and we can get into the details in more depth then. So in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to myself or Rick if you have any questions or concerns before we meet again. So, but we really look forward to working with you. We're happy to, like I said, be a resource for you. We really want to make sure that you get all the information you need, all the guidance that you need, so that you can be successful in your role and bringing all of your vast experience and expertise to the table, while also ensuring the integrity of the important work that you're going to carry out. So thank you for an opportunity to meet with you all today. I look forward to working with you soon. And thank you again.
Thank you, Erin. I'd like to go over next what's coming down the road and some of the next steps that we'll be taking. As I mentioned, we're already advancing the Seeding Opportunity Initiative, and with seeds in the ground now and that application window for conditional process is opening on Tuesday, we are moving forward full steam ahead. We've already released also for public comment regulations concerning the packaging, labeling, marketing, advertising, and testing of cannabis products. And I want to take a moment to speak to the process of your engagement with those regulations. So while we're at work drafting the remaining regulations for adult use program, as well as fine-tuning regulations for the medical program, those regulations, after drafted by the office, go to the Cannabis Control Board for review and approval. The first time the Cannabis Control Board votes on the regulations, it is only to make them available in the state registry for a 60-day public comment period. Under the MRTA, the Cannabis Advisory Board, this body, advises on the proposed regulations, and to effectuate that consultation, the office will engage with the advisory board during the public comment period. To be clear, this body and its expertise will help sharpen the regulations being developed by the office. However, the sole body charged with the approval of regulations is the Cannabis Control Board. You can expect more regulations to be voted on by the Control Board in the coming weeks. Those regulations will then be sent to this body. OCM staff will utilize future meetings to provide an overview of the regulatory framework and approach to inform your internal discussions and potential improvements. The regulations that are already out for public comment will be disseminated to this body for review, and we will begin the engagement process that I've just described over the next few weeks. This process of engaging with the advisory board during the public comment period will provide the office and control board with necessary insights that will help ensure the regulations developed are as comprehensive as they can be. So there's much more to come, and we're absolutely thrilled to have all of you joining the party. I'm excited and look forward to having your partnership as we build the model for creating a truly equitable and inclusive industry. Thank you and congratulations on joining together for the first meeting of the Cannabis Advisory Board. Please be on the lookout for correspondence from our office regarding upcoming training, upcoming meetings, and materials for your review for future discussion. Without further ado, we adjourn. Thank you all, and I hope everybody has a great week.